I'm Grant McGaugh. I'm the CEO and founder of Five Star BDM. That is for brand development and marketing. I do a lot of business development as well. I've been in business for 6+ years, and I operate in Miami, in St. Croix, and also Omaha, Nebraska. I am looking to help small business owners and entrepreneurs to scale up and take advantage of my experience in the Fortune 500 world in technology, in healthcare, and finance. So happy to be here.
Diversified Game. Learn how to start, run, and sustain your business.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, I think this is a first because Chief Grant not just represents Omaha. You might as well call him being from Miami, but St. Croix. I don't think we've ever had a person who's covered all those spaces. And we're going to get into that because I know you guys are trying to get out of America, but St. Croix may or may not be for you, depending on where your pocket is. We didn't say it's not Thailand, it's not Kenya, it's not South Africa. So, Grant, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Great intro. Love to be here. If people don't know, the U.S. Virgin Islands is part of the United States territory, just a little bit south of Puerto Rico, but it is the United States third border, and it sits in the Caribbean Sea. And just recently now is part of CARICOM, which is the EU, like European Union of the Caribbean. But now we sit at that table and we're building out financial marketplaces there. This is something not to sleep on in the American world.
Well, we might have politricians who don't even know that, who throw paper towels at islands in hurricanes. So, um, but let's just go there because we're going to talk about personal brands, and you guys will see the links in the description for his beautiful website and everything that he has on. He was so gracious to have me on his show, but I've been wanting to do this for a while. I just haven't got my time in order. And I'm so glad we can do this. God's perfect timing. But let the people know about why St. Croix for you. I believe there was a hurricane a few years ago that really hit them hard. And, I want people to know, do you have a relationship before that? Any relatives there? Or did you say, oh, let me help rebuild?
Well, a combination of all of those things, Kellen. I work also with an organization out of Miami. And just so people know, I lived in Miami for about 27, 30 odd years. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and I recently just relocated back there because my parents have gotten older. But because of that relationship in Miami with the ICABA organization, ICABA, that's for Black professionals, I met a gentleman there by the name of Anthony Weeks about 4 or 5 years ago or so. And he started to talk to me about SETI case. I'm like, I don't know what SETI case is, what that is all about. But he's very interested in my Follow the Brand podcast. He has a media outlet called OurTV.network. That's OURTV.network. And they have media coverage in the United States Virgin Islands. Right. And he's a very big player there, but he also comes from the financial market. So as we got deeper into this and he started to syndicate my show down in the Virgin Islands, we started to understand where we had other things in common. And we sat around a Thanksgiving or two ago, and I told him, like, I'm also in the investment banking world, through my family out of Omaha called Cornhusker Capital, right? So that gets into capital raise, gets into M&A work, which is merger acquisitions, as well as exit strategies. And he's like, wow, Grant, you've been hiding this from me for all this time. You didn't tell me about all this stuff. I said, "Well, I didn't know you would be interested." He said, "Yeah, I'm very interested because we are building out a financial marketplace in St. Croix that because of what I talked about earlier, because of a MOU that was signed by the governor of the Virgin Islands about a year or two ago that places St. Croix at the table of CARICOM. Now, this is a huge advantage that people don't understand that because it's a territory, not a state, it has other laws that are in place. Like, for instance, a lot of people don't know this. If you live in St. Croix for 6 months and a day, you do not pay federal income tax, no income tax at all, right? Also, if you operate a business out of St. Croix, you do not pay federal income tax. There's other things that are involved in that, but that's why a lot of pass through. Think of Delaware. Think of Delaware, people in the United States. That's why a lot of corporations are incorporated in the state of Delaware because of advantages that are there. The same thing is happening also in the United States Virgin Islands out of St. Croix because of when they were acquired. They had certain provisions with within that documentation called the Jones Act that precludes them from different tax laws and things of nature, and that you can park money there that you do not have to pay taxes on. So like what you see in Barbados and the Cayman Islands and things of that nature, this is a huge thing. And so your audience understands this. The United States Virgin Island is totally black run, black governorship, all the way from the governor all the way down to the island, down to everything that's taking place. That is the island paradise for black people that is in the United States. I know a lot of people, I'm going to Jamaica, I'm going to the Bahamas. You need to be coming to the United States Virgin Islands because not only you can have personal enjoyment, you can have business enjoyment if you know how to position it that well. So that's what I've done down in the Virgin Islands. I position investment banking there. I'm the senior advisor for SETI case, which means St. Croix Economic Development Initiative. CASE is for Caribbean American Single Economy. Look it up. You'll see a lot of information around that.
Now, people don't get no state tax mixed up with no federal tax, thinking that, oh, I'm about, all the crypto bros are always trying to run to a Puerto Rico or somewhere, not understanding rules can always change. But Grant, you can help them position themselves so that they can take the guesswork out and you can treat them as a client. He's not your father, but as a client, paying client. Will he mentor me? No, he'll coach you though into it. I just want to make that clear because we know there's some people who hear things and brother, you should really be helping me out. And we'll get into the good that he does do, for free later. But I'd like to know, it's black run on the surface. Is it black run? And do you see a lot of us in the neighborhoods we're gonna live in as expats? Because I guess we're not expats, but as tourists or newcomers, do we have real power? Or is it kind of like the Congressional Black Caucus? Um, I've worked with politicians, so they're still taking marching orders from other people.
No. To answer your question, 100% black. Not only is black black governed. Not to say there's no, Caucasian there or whatever you want to call that. There's money there that may not be, belong toward this. Here's the big problem. To answer your question directly, what happens is a lot of these corporations, they pass the money through the U.S. Virgin Islands, utilizing these tax laws, right? But then the money goes off island. It does not stay on island. That's the problem. And that's the problem that we are looking to solve with our SETI case and standing up the financial marketplace. They will also have a stocks exchange as a part of that. So then that money is now incented to stay on island and can be redistributed over time, right? Depending on what it is. And bringing in now in the Caribbean world, your Jamaican dollars, your Cayman dollars, Guyana, which is a big money player now because of the oil. Now they can start to operate and do business with the United States without going to the mainland right there in St. Croix and utilize these tax laws that are not available on the mainland. So there's a lot of incentive that is taking place there. But we do need to make sure that that money circulates through. And there's only 40,000 people on St. Croix. It's not like a huge island, right? The total is about 80,000 residents in the entire United States Virgin Islands. It's not a huge, population here, but we are there for 100%. I'm going to be going there just next week, as a matter of fact, and I'll be staying there for like 2-3 weeks. But I do have friends there. And I hope to have family there. I tell people all the time, I love to go fishing, so I like to go out there, do some nice, fishing, take care of some things. But we standing up right now, we're working on developing new medical facilities there for our people. Doing other things about making sure that small business owners, let's say you're doing business in Miami, you're doing business in Washington, D.C., you're doing business in the Midwest, in Omaha, Nebraska, but then you're looking to expand your market. operating out of St. Croix gives you not only say, oh, Grant, you just said there's only 8,000 people there. No, you're doing business with the entire Caribbean, South America, Central America. It opens up an entire new marketplace for you that gives you an incentive to do business and just standing up an entity there that you can then enjoy some of the benefits I just talked about.
Ready to dominate your industry with strategy that actually scales? At Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm, we're not just PR experts, we're licensed sports agents certified in AI and elite business consultants with over 2 decades of experience leading global projects across multiple countries. Visit cprfirm.com, that's colemanprfirm.com, and millionairex.ai. Then download the Millionaire X app, your AI powered guide to getting out of debt, investing smarter, and building generational wealth. Coleman Public Relations and Consulting Firm. It's a family business, it's different.
Are there any professions that you say are, not having such a big population, but maybe you can work with various, islands and territories? I think of, because my own self-interest, medicine. Are there any things for doctors where, hey, we can pay you even more over here? And if you want to, be remote, or if you're here for 6 months, have you seen anything like that? Or even nurses, anything like that, or any career field?
No, 100% on healthcare. That is huge. I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of the biggest gaps that happens when you're on a small island. You don't have access to healthcare like you do. Most likely in the neighborhoods that you're living in now, it's very small. So they have to fly doctors in, or they have to fly you out as a patient, depending on what it is that is wrong with you. So there's a lot that can be done still to build out the healthcare infrastructure on these islands, not only in St. Croix, like talking about St. Lucia, the entire archipelago that goes all the way down into South America and then over toward Jamaica. So there's a lot of interest in healthcare or healthcare related type industries. Logistics is big. So if you're into the logistics world, and that's one of the biggest problems down the island. No, we take this for granted. Yeah, I'll call Amazon and have something delivered tomorrow. Well, you're on an island. It don't happen that quickly. It doesn't happen that smoothly, right? So they'll start looking at drone technologies. So you start looking at advanced technology solutions that can help and actually create commerce and create business opportunities that you couldn't do before. So healthcare is a big one. Technology is another big one. Finance is another big one. So those three areas I really hone in on because I know there's a dramatic need on these islands.
Now you're gonna have me look at, radiologists who, whether it can be remote or live there, and the breaks. I'm gonna be looking. Just that's beautiful. And when you say drone technology, are they thinking? Because Amazon's ready to deliver packages with the drones, but in America, everyone's like, "What about?" I was in Seattle; they're ready. It's been here, but it's all the other stuff you got to get through. The companies are ready, right? So if we're really company first, but are you saying they're ready to ship, let's say, from Miami to St. Croix via drone? They've already had those
Well,
talks.
I wouldn't say to totally drone. That's a long distance,
Oh.
via drone. But what you would have, let's say they would fly into the airport, and because of logistically wise, you can now deploy via drone throughout the island really quickly, and then as you
Okay.
turn around can refuel or whatever it may be. You also, and so that's just one way of getting their shipping lanes. They have one of the largest deep sea ports in the world, right? In St. Croix. There's other things about St. Croix that people don't know. They have also one of the largest telecommunication networks in the hemisphere. I mean, that rivals Silicon Valley. That's in St. Croix that was built out by Cable and Wireless, a couple of decades ago. It's just a matter of how do we utilize this type of infrastructure to actually grow the economies at scale for people that are there and others that want to do business there. Again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. It's a black run territory. You coming from the United States, they're going to be looking at you. What can you bring to the table? And how can we then get you settled in here to actually create commerce for you along those lines? So there's a lot of things you can consider from a logistical. And obviously travel is huge. because they make a lot of their money on tourism. Tourism is big, but there's more to it. So when you think of the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas is more what you call the tourism product. St. Croix has tourism, but it's more business and family oriented than St. Thomas.
And what about the affordability? Because I can see somebody again calling you for paid consulting. You can't go pick people's brain, people. Affordability, because again, packages are more. Or is there much property, or even to build? How does that work?
Cost of living is a little higher if you wanted to live there, let's say, just because of the island. It's not, I wouldn't call it, it's terribly higher, but you'll start seeing things like food, clothing, things of that nature that could be higher because there's more shipping costs that are part of that. But you have a lot of high net worth individuals that live on these islands as well, or they do what you call snowbirds, right? So they live in the mainland, for 6 months out of the year, then they come down to the islands. But they already know when you've been there, if you were looking to live there, let's say for an extended period of time, you would have a lot of things shipped in for you that you just have as provisions and that kind of thing, and then you're great. For me going down there, I don't really run into that too much because I in family oriented situations. I'm not having to spend a ton of money on this and that. But I just wanted to advise people just look at the economies of scale, but come with the purpose. That's the whole thing. Come with the purpose. If you have business, you've developed business, and you're looking to expand market, do your due diligence, do your research, and then like, hey, I know somebody, I know Grant now. This is what I have. We evaluate what you're doing, and then look at how we can position you for opportunities. Remember, it's not just in St. Croix itself; it's the entire Caribbean and the archipelago down in South and Central America as well.
You've tried it your way, but you're still in debt. Or maybe you're doing okay, but want to invest smarter, grow faster. MillionaireX.ai gives you real step-by-step strategies to ditch debt or stack wealth. Stop dreaming and start planning. Visit MillionaireX.ai today. I want you to be the next millionaire next door.
Okay, and you guys make sure, remember, it's in America, so remember the laws. This is not the DR. This is not San Martin. Don't just go show, all of that. Well, you've done a lot, and you're going to continue to do a lot. The best is yet to come. What are some of the mistakes that you're seeing people that are coming to you as clients, and you're like, it's the same mistake? You guys got to get over, you got to have a budget, or you got to know how to balance your budget. What are you seeing that entrepreneurs are doing? Because everything is so fast now with AI. People think, oh, I can create my business today and put CEO or founder, and I'm in business and I'm a big shot with my whole chest.
Wow. What you just talked about there is being authentic, right? I take people through my framework, which I call the BRAVE framework. Because you're going to be brave to be an entrepreneur and in business today. What does BRAVE stand for? That means brand identity. Do you have an identity? Are you ready for the trek that you're on? I mean, are you resilient? You've got to be resilient. You've got to be able to do your research. You got to be responsible. You got to have relationships, right? What are your relationships to get you to where you want to go? You got to have assets. What are those assets? Assets aren't just monetarily. There's assets in many different ways. Do you have intellectual property? What are your assets that you can leverage to get you to where you want to go? Do you have velocity in your business? Do you have volume in your business? Do you have value in your business? What is all that really look like? And then here's one of the biggest things to answer your question right off the bat. Are you visible? Are you visible to your target market? Are you visible? Because if you're not visible, you might have the greatest product in the world, but nobody knows about it. You're not visible. You're not getting out there. And so you're not in the marketplace that you're looking to influence. And then that goes to the big E, which is you got to execute. How are you executing? What energy are you bringing to the table? What are you reiterating what you have, and what you're doing so you can then maneuver a lot better. All these things are part of the BRAVE framework. So the first thing I always advise people on is that what is your blueprint strategy? And I guarantee you ask that question, you say, all right, what's your blueprint strategy? You'd be like, what? You mean, do you have, what's your business plan? what do you've got to have some kind of if you're in a new place, right? And you don't know where you're going to St. Croix and you say, hey, I need you to go over to the casino, you know where it is. The first thing you need is to get a GPS. You got to have a map. You got to have a way of getting there. Right. So you tell me, like you just said, hey, I'm this great entrepreneur, I'm this great business owner, and I can do X. I'm like, oh, what's your plan of getting there? And if you don't have that, and it's not real, authentic, I mean, you can't just in a napkin throw it together in 5 minutes and here you go, Grant, let's make it happen. Like, no, 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 no. You've got to go through you got to do your due diligence of what you're doing and understand the market that you're looking to influence. And what does it really take to get there? Because I tell anybody, like anybody can say, hey, I can jump on the moon. It's very easy to come off out of my mouth. I'm gonna jump on the moon. But to get there and actually do that, that's a heck of an undertaking.
Talk to them in the 20 plus years, because I think about when I started, and then I said, "Oh, that was cringe." But you look at how you've progressed throughout the decades, and you're like, "Okay, now I'm happy about that, or happier about that." Very few people are where they want to be, but you're exactly where you might need to be. Some of us, but when you see people with great ideas but they don't have the mental capability, or they don't have the finances. And then you see somebody like with a terrible idea, a terrible product, but they have the business. Maybe they went to Harvard, Yale, they went to the SBA, Apex Accelerators, and it's like their product isn't as good as this person, but their business is so on point. How do you feel when you see those companies? Because it's like you don't even have to be the best. You just got to be the best prepared.
No, 100% happens all the time. I take you back in time. Remember, like when you're renting video, like going to Blockbuster and things like that. Yeah, best. But there's also a thing called beta.
Mhm.
Beta was a type of cartridge that you could play and it would play your movies. It was actually a much better product than VHS. VHS had the little tape in there. They could get screwed up. You could pull them out. It didn't play as well. It didn't have as much fidelity. But guess what? VHS, everybody was using. Why? Because it was marketed better. It was more visible. When it got out into the marketplace, people were like, yeah, I know that's a little bit better and it looks better, but this is easier to use. I'm just going with this VHS and that's it. We have to understand the marketplace that you're looking to influence. You don't necessarily the best. You're just the most well known, right? That
Mhm.
is a big thing. That's what the difference between brand when you have a brand and when you don't. I've noticed a lot of people they'll spend a lot of time investing in their product or their service. And I would advise them, you're doing it wrong. You're like, what do you mean? I got you. Like, no, you need to invest in your audience. And that's the reason why VHS outsold data. They invested in the audience, in the end user, the person that was actually going to be taking this product or service and utilizing it. And they catered to them. They marketed to them. It didn't matter they didn't have the best product. They were in their face and then they started to utilize. There are better large language models, AIs, than open AI. But then because it's associated with Microsoft, it got worldwide acclaim very, very quickly. In my personal opinion, I'll tell you that Claude is really a better engine, right? Some people think Perplexity is a better engine, but they don't have the market share now, right? So it's not always the better technology, the better product, or the better service. It's the positioning of your product or service in the marketplace that you're looking to influence that you really need to pay attention to.
Definitely, definitely. And Claude is a better writer. And my chat GPT, Gina Chat, I call her, she doesn't lie to me. She's like, yes, and this is why, because you got to pit them against each other. That's how AI is a woman. It can multitask and it gets really, really, jealous, but it still will tell you the truth. But that's no, that is awesome. Now, with what you're doing, and you've also written a book, tell the people where they can get the book and what they can expect to get out of the book, because the late great Miles Monroe taught me, at least in my household, If you read a book a week, your life will be different. And if your wife starts reading too, you have to, and he went into this whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, you don't want your wife to be, smarter than you. She may be, depending on if you picked right, because you should pick up, raise your heights. But what are they going to get out of your book, and give them the game on that, please?
Oh, and let me reach back here, grab his book. First, you can get First Light right on Amazon. First Light, The Brave Path to Authentic Leadership. Everything we just talked about just now is associated in this book. Now, this book, I put it into a story form so that it is a fiction book, but it's based in nonfiction principles. I mean, I take you through a journey and I wanted to make it memorable, because if I just give you a lot of logical things, a lot of do's and don'ts, a lot of 1, 2, 3s, you're not going to remember it. So I take you through a journey. You got, you have the guide, and then you have the client. And I show you what you're going to actually come across. Because the client, he first talks about, hey, I want to be section chief. This is more like, career development. This is what I want to become. I said, great. Now I'm going to take you through 5 mountains that you're going to have to climb in order to achieve your goal, right? And it really is not about becoming section chief. It's really about becoming your true self and understanding your identity, your brand identity, the archetypes that are driving you, right? Understanding what the skill sets that you're going to actually need to have and be able to deploy and implement to reach your goal. That's the mountain of resilience. When you have to face yourself, your own authenticity. What is the shadow self that you are hiding from others that you think is not visible, that is very, very visible? How are you going to then to transcend the digital coliseum? That's in the book. That's what we're talking about. Because right now, if you do not know how to operate in the digital world, at this point in time, you're missing the boat. We talk about that, the digital coliseum. Don't sleep on it. And then you have to execute. And at that point, you start becoming your true self. I don't want to give too much away. This is a great read. Take a look at it. You'll get through it. You see the principles that I just talked about in the BRAVE framework. And then as you need me, as you just talked about, you will reach out. I will help you, whether it's career development or business development, to get to that next level. So my business is all about developing the personal brand that then leads to business development, that then leads to investment banking.
Hello everyone! Join us on an exciting journey with Explore the World Cameroon. London and Sydney go take you explore Cameroon, the heart of Africa. Experience the vibrant culture, nature and traditions, from Yaoundé market to rainforest adventures. Every page na new discovery. Join the Cameroonian food, music and wildlife with our explorers. This book na true celebration of Cameroon spirit. Get your copy now. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and through your library and bookstores here in Grams Park. Don't miss this adventure.
Got you. And for that investment banking, where do you like people to be when you deal with them? Because, people will say, hey, I want to get into it. Tell me something that's going on that you heard of. I heard you were part of Florida Funders. And I'm like, yeah, but if you're not qualified or sophisticated, I really can't tell you that anything that you could actually get him be a piece of, because you don't qualify. So where do you like people to qualify for you? So somebody doesn't come to you with $500 talking about, hey, turn this into 50,000 for me. I heard on TikTok.
Totally get that. And the different things. Investment banking is really, we focus on the small to medium business, SMBs. Typically, you're going to be anywhere from maybe 20 to 50 employees, maybe 100 employees. You're really looking at a 6-7 figure business. Typically, our sweet spot is about $3 million in EBITDA, because now you're at a point, you're a mature business, but then you're looking to grow. You're either going to be acquired, or you're looking to acquire, right? Or you may need a capital raise. Capital raise meaning you need to roll out a new product or service. No one's going to give you money if you don't have already a track record that you already demonstrated expertise in. So if you come to me like you're already, I'd say a 6 or 7 figure business, and you say, Grant, I need $500,000. They're like, okay, all right, what are you going to do with that $500,000? What is the use of funds for? So then that makes sense. No one's going to give you $500,000 unless they can make them potentially $5 million. You got to be able to have a real good use case around that, and a pitch deck that actually sees that has actual numbers associated with it. That's in the capital raise world. The merger acquisition, somebody actually wants to acquire you. Your business is so good, somebody wants to actually buy it from you, or you want to buy, or somebody, you want to buy someone else's asset. You can actually acquire the business instead of growing it organically yourself. And then you might say, you know what, I want to retire, go to St. Croix, I'm done with this. So it's an exit strategy. That's what investment banking is all about. So say, well, Grant, I'm not at that level. That's when we start looking at the business development level that I talked about, personal branding, business development. You want to develop your business to a point where you can operate in investment banking circles.
Now, you said, retire to St. Croix and people acquiring your business. I was thinking about when I was in Seattle. I had a couple buddies and they, brought me on, hired me to do, hey, these companies want to buy our company. And one was for 1 million something, the other one was for just $100,000 more. And I told them both. I said, $1 million isn't $1 million once you sell it, right? I said, so what are you guys gonna do after this? And they were like, what do you mean? And I said, what are you gonna do? Because after the tax, you're no longer a millionaire, and they don't seem like they want you to stay on the business and give you a salary. And both of them didn't sell because they're in the same business. I don't want to say too much of the information because I hold secrets real well. But do you see that just with young entrepreneurs, maybe in their 30s and below? Or do you see people getting excited saying, hey, the sharks offered me $1 million. I'm going to go on Shark Tank and I'm going to sell. And then they don't have anything to fall back on. And then you can fall into a depression if you don't have a purpose.
Yeah, it's all about maturity. What is the maturity cycle? I think when you've gotten above a certain level of financial attainment, you start to understand that money isn't everything, right? It's part of it. It's not everything. It's good to have because it's a resource. It's an asset, as I was talking about earlier. It's just a resource. It's not in the Brave framework. That's just one aspect of it, right? And to your point, what is the purpose that you have? Because if you're living in a world of purpose, that you have meaning in, you understand your character and that you have a purpose, then you totally understand what happens next, right? You're going to sell this business and you're going to do X. It's not sell the business and do nothing. So because that's how you drain. Like you have this pool of money, and then you push a hole in it. It's like that beautiful pool you got in the back there. Eventually, the water is going to run out, right? So you gotta have a purpose around what it is that you're doing all the way around. You always got to keep those 1 to 3 year goals, those 3 to 5 year goals, those 5 to 10 year goals. What do they look like? And are you being authentic around them? Because if you are, you're going to then implement around that, right? You're going to live those principles. You're going to live those ethics. So you're not going to have that point where I just sold it for $1 million. And then do you see that, unfortunately, in the sporting world, even in the entertainment world, the rapper world, they got that big up. They got into the 7 figures. They're great, but they're running around here spending money like they're never going to run out of it. And they're spending money on things that really don't have that much value, real value. What is a true asset? A true asset is something that accumulates in value, right? Right. Like you buy a vehicle, typically it depreciates in value over time. You buy a house, typically it's going to ascend in value, right? Understanding the asset game is very, very important. So it keeps you not only, money and financial solvency for yourself, but for your family and the legacy. Do you have a legacy plan? Are you thinking about that? Or that's not, part of your goal. So you got to think through these things. And to answer your question before, it's all about the maturity and the mindset that you have.
Talking about mindset, I have friends, and I'm going to speak about what this one had told me. And she had said, you never talk about money So you must have some because you're always doing something new. And I said, I just know my purpose. At what age did you find your purpose? And how did it hit you where, like, because you work with solopreneurs and you want executives. Why them and not, saying I want to deal with who, name somebody, some blue blood, King Charles, whomever. How did you find your purpose? At what age? And why do you deal with the people you deal with instead of trying to deal with always the biggest in the world?
Well, you gotta have your niche, and I think that goes all the way back. For me, I was in technology in my 20s. I went to the DeVry Institute of Technology in Kansas City, Missouri, and I learned a lot about electronics. I couldn't even apply it at the time when I got out, but then I got into sales. So that led me into sales and sales engineering. I lived in New England for a little bit of time. And again, getting back to understanding your purpose and who you go after, I was working in the engineering field for a while, but at the same time, in the personal world, I'm married, I'm having kids, I'm having to act to produce and to maintain a household that can slow things down to a certain degree about what it is that you're doing. You got to understand the stage of life that you're in. And then again, the maturity level. It wasn't until the 1990s that I really started to understand myself as an identity. I remember going to the Million Man March back in '95. It really gave me a sense of self that was better than how I thought about myself even before that. And it was very, very good. Kind of get away from those self-limiting ideas that can keep you stuck, right? Because I always go back to the monopoly example because I think it's good. Yes, I had to get my education. I had to learn how to pass go and collect my $200. And then at the same time, what they don't teach you in monopoly is as you start to I'm accumulating property. Well, you actually start accumulating people, like a wife, and kids. And then you start thinking about a home and things like that. Then you start thinking about, enterprising. But that takes time to do that. But you have to start being intentional about it. And I got it more intentional when I moved to Miami. It's like, let me accumulate a home, got the house, right? And now I need to invest in my career. And I got into, again, developing sales engineering and working for companies like Avaya, Cisco, CenturyLink, Lumen 5, and really, I'm in that IT world. So, but I'm in business development. I'm interfacing with Fortune 500 executives to sell them $1 million applications, big risk type things, and that gave me experience. So, to answer your question more, you have to accumulate experience along life's journey. And once you've accumulated enough experience with that, well, then how do I then monetize that experience? And who finds what I do or what I know valuable? You got to do a self assessment around that because not everybody finds that valuable, right? That's not valuable. That to me might be valuable with someone else. You need to understand who finds what you do valuable. And then over time, about 6, 7 years ago, I was still a W-2 employee, right? And I'm working for a large corporation, but then I went through a downsizing, a layoff. Nothing to do with me, but they went through a financial situation. They had to get rid of their healthcare department. I got impacted, and I'm like, wow, I'm sitting now. Now for me, I'm sitting here in my 50s, and I'm like, I can't be going through this. I need to be able to self-generate my revenue. It's my responsibility to do that. Now I need to take a look at who finds myself valuable. And for me, it came pretty simple. My network started to talk to me. Hey, Grant, I hear that you're looking for opportunity. And you've already built out this network. You've already built out this network of 20,000 people. You've already built out this network of healthcare professionals and technology people and financial planners and other people. I want access to that. Well, how valuable is that to them? And that's what started Five Star BDM as a business because they wanted access to my network. They're able to then enable me to pay me as what you call a fractional business development manager. And then that grew and grew and grew until we over 5 to 6 years to be where I'm at now. So hopefully that answers some of your question about you got to take what you're good at already, the experience that you already have. You are a master at what you do in the skill set that you are. So that mindset, that skill set, and that tool set, you start to look at that whole framework of what you've got and where is your business set in there, and then identify again what I said earlier. You got to understand your audience better than you understand your product or your service.
And break this down. And this is the part, you guys. This is the part. Bear with me because I want to get you guys even more of a gem on that. But when you walked away and said, I don't want to be, fireable, I just want to be able to be hired again and again and again. Now you're they put you as the fractional. Did you say, I need to be paid so I don't have to worry about my bills, so I have that one client that pays for everything and everything else will be the cherry on top? Or did you say I got to get 3 of these to be able to be set? Because most people, I find the hardest part is them just walking away and saying, I'm for me. I'm me, find me. Ooh, right?
Let me tell you, you got to understand the mindset. And I say that like this: you got to flip the script. I had to get out of what I call the W-2 mind, and I had to adopt and truly understand entrepreneurial mindset. Entrepreneurial mindset is different from W-2 mindset. Meaning like this: I might be employed by an employer. When you get hired by employer, you adhere to the terms and conditions of employment. That is what is a contract. That is a contract of service that you will supply, and adhere to the roles and responsibilities, and they will pay you X amount. That's a contract. You are already an entrepreneur, whether you realize it or not. And at any point in time, they could come to you and say, you know what? Our contract is now null and void. You're like, wow, shame on me for not realizing that and saying, hey, I need multiple clients. I need multiple streams of income. I can't be depending on just one type of way of making money because that is a W-2 mindset. An entrepreneurial mindset, I have multiple streams of income. Look at corporations. Corporations have multiple streams of income. People think McDonald's make money on selling hamburgers. They don't. They make some money, but they make most of their money on selling real estate. That's how they make money. You start like, wow, I didn't realize that. Like, you need to unpack and understand the world of finance and business and how it really works. And understand that that same time that you're spending in time actually is making you money in multiple different ways. So yes, I want to have multiple clients. I can have a major client, but boy, if you put all your eggs in one basket and that egg goes sour, that's going to be a problem, for you. Now, people are like, all right, well, I can't just quit my job and jump into entrepreneur. I say, I didn't do that. I worked both simultaneously, like I just said, because I started looking at my job as a client. And can I take on another client? Yes, I've taken on a client. I made sure there wasn't a conflict of interest. You got to understand the terms and condition that you have with this client or your employer. Can you operate both at the same time? You have to look at that. Some people can, some people can't. So I could do that. And then I started growing more clients on my entrepreneurial side to where even if I kept this particular job or client, as I will call it, or not, I was still good. And then it came to a point where I didn't need another job. I didn't need that commitment because that's a commitment of time and resources. And it's really impinging on what I'm doing from a business development standpoint for myself. Now I operate as a founder, CEO, and entrepreneur, and I'm operating in many different fields simultaneously, and then having the maturity cycle to understand what I need to deliver.
That's good game. And that what you mentioned, the McDonald's model, I was so upset at myself for watching the movie before reading the book. I watched that movie and said, why isn't this a book? It is a book. Grinding it out. why have I not got this book in my hand? It kicked me like not being able to finish the scriptures. It kicked me like Napoleon Hill's Conversation with the Devil. Like, why did I not have this book? Because it might have saved me from some things, might have saved me from some sins, really. But that's awesome. And with all the success that you've had, and the best is yet to come, as I said, what is a community give back that you're doing or that you would like to do in the future? And how can the community, if possible, help you out with that?
Man, I am so glad you asked. I do a lot, and the community service has helped me so much in building my business. Because as I got involved with associations, especially when I was in healthcare, I did a lot in healthcare and healthcare technology. I got involved with associations, and through that, people started to see me as I was, not just someone showing up to sell them stuff. Well, here comes Grant. He's coming to sell me some technology. No, I'm bringing forth relationships. I'm talking about how we can bring forth, change in the community, whether we need more accessibility to healthcare, we need more affordable healthcare. I do that through the National Association of Health Services Executives. I became the president of that association. I grew it from just South Florida to the entire statewide organization. I got involved with HIMSS, which is the Health Informatics System Society, with health technology for all the different hospital systems. Because of my father, who actually passed away through healthcare complications, I was able to become a hero and someone that could be an advocate about, hey, we need to get better healthcare outcomes. Someone's got to be more accountable around that. And because I did that, people started to see me with social impact. What I'm doing now in Omaha, Nebraska is around AI and AI business accelerator. So I'm taking my knowledge, my experience, and I'm bringing it to a community that doesn't have it as much as I do to get them to scale up. This is very important. Same thing I'm doing in St. Croix. I understand that they do have issues around medical care, right? And then issues around how do we keep that pool of finance within our community. So the more that I do that, the better off that I am personally, obviously, but then the community is better off because I'm a community servant.
I gotta go check out Omaha. I had a buddy, Eddie, really bright skin, like Drake, right? Before you guys had 1 million in population, he was trying to get me to come out there, and he's like, "Come on out!" And now I'm sure with Bud's, and when yeah, with his success, more people are coming sniffing around, and I gotta come check that out. I heard you guys got some Buffalo burgers. Where do you see the opportunity? In your state, in your city, is it there? Should we all be flooding there because we can get a house for a lot cheaper than what we can in California or New York or even Florida?
Oh man, you just said it first. The affordability is it's a lot lower, right? But at the same time, people are like, well, what am I sacrificing? Yeah, it's going to be colder. Don't get me wrong. It's not the same weather wise, but it has 4 seasons, so you get all of it, right? And then have the thriving Black community. I tell people all the time. People think like, well, you sound like you're coming from a very Caucasian type environment. Like, no, not at all. I tell people, like you just said, there's 1 billion people that live here, and there are more. This is a true statement, and my friend in St. Croix hates it when I say it, but it's true. There are more Black people in Omaha, Nebraska, than there are in the Virgin Islands, St. Croix.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, but there's a lot of new opportunity. People are coming to Omaha. Professionals are coming to Omaha. Black professionals are coming to Omaha because they see the opportunity. You could come right now. I tell people, me moving back is like living in the past, present, and future all at the same time. I remember the old. I see what it looks like now, and I see where it's going. A lot of this looks like, to me, a lot of it Atlanta, as far as some of the landscapes and its beautiful malls and just areas. You're like, wow, this is really nice. Like, it is, but it's not congested, so you don't have so much traffic and other things that are going on. I mean, you have the good, the bad, and ugly in every community, but we just got a lot of grants. It came into the community to build out urban, we call North Omaha. We're talking millions of dollars to start to create tech innovation hubs. This is going to become the state-of-the-art center of excellence for technology innovation in the world of finance and in the world of agri-tech, any place in the world.
And I believe in the research that I've seen, they say like 3 out of 4 Americans, 90% are in debt. Where you're at, the medium price for a house is like 285, where most places it's 400 and maybe above. So I would assume people are less in debt. And they don't have to have a Maserati, they don't have to have a Mercedes. Plus, you can't outstunt the number one stunner. And you guys, if you don't know, you guys need to see the richest man in not just Omaha, but I do it.
So Buffett lived right here. You could go by his house. Buffett is such a down to earth individual. He's been in the community a long time. He just plays the game of stocks, bonds, and all that kind of stuff like a kid. I mean, he's not so full of himself. Let's put it like that. And he does a lot for the community as well. But you see the mood and attitude in Omaha. We are the blue dot. Yeah, Nebraska is a red state, but Omaha is a blue state. The current mayor of Omaha is actually a friend of mine who went to school. He's the first black mayor in the history of Omaha, Nebraska. There's a lot going on that people don't sleep on it. I tell people, don't sleep on Omaha, don't sleep on St. Croix, don't sleep in the MIA. I'm always going to rep the MIA. But there's a lot of opportunity if you choose that it fits what you want to accomplish, right? But it's there, and there's a lot of newness that's coming out that is growing exponentially in the Midwest.
And if you can afford it, while everyone's saying, hey, $20 for some beef, ground beef. Hey, the buffalo bison might be a lot cheaper. I don't know. Go check it out. Right. I've had everything. I've had everything, snails and everything, but meat is meat. If that's your thing, I just love this. And I want them to really, after liking and commenting maybe and sharing this game, I want them to go follow the brand, and that is the podcast, y'all. The links again will be in the description. That's Grant's podcast. Go follow the brand, because you really need, if you don't even have money, at least you can follow the success and stories like this and say, okay, this is what they did. They got education. Oh, DeVry is more than just a commercial. People used to clown DeVry, talking about, why would I go to DeVry? And now you know why. Look at all those plaques behind there and the things he's done compared to some of our educations. I have a master's degree. I'm about to go get a second one, God willing, and some other stuff as well. But you see what he's done. It's not the education. It's what you use it. It's a tool. That's it. I don't care if you went to Harvard. Leave them with some final words to inspire them so they won't feel down, so they'll feel encouraged, and make sure that they follow you everywhere. The floor is yours.
100%, Kellen, 100%. First of all, I'm going to give you what I call my freemium. What is the freemium? The freemium he just talked about. Follow the Brand podcast. I have over 250 episodes, and they're segmented on my website. So if you are interested in personal branding, I've got like 30, 40 episodes just on that. So you can learn these things and understand these things from real people that have lived these kinds of things, and you get a better understanding. Also in business development, career development, and financial empowerment, right? Technology innovation, and brand mastery, and executive presence. All of that is there for you to consume. I want people to get educated around these things. It's not just me telling you about my story. It's from other people. Kellen is going to be on my show. You can't wait to drop this one. This is a great conversation I had with him. I like to communicate with people, and I understand their story, especially in the world of what we call artificial intelligence. And I would tell anybody, I'd rather have human intelligence than the artificial intelligence. I am into the HAI world. You need to understand the value you are as a human being to what you're looking to influence, right? The experience that you have, the way you see things, your emotional intelligence, your situational awareness are things that are going to be valuable in this age as we move forward. But if you don't make it visible, you're going to sleep on the opportunity and you will not have what you're looking for to live in this world.
Amen. Amen. And I'm looking at some houses in Omaha that you guys will say, "Ooh." You know, I don't know if there's a state tax there. I haven't gone that deep into the research, but it doesn't matter if you can afford it. People, you got to be able to afford where you live. And also, when you go to Follow the Brand podcast, please, I know some people now are like, Kellen, why do you do what you do? I don't see enough people watching. I say the publicists do. And you're an example. I've had my show on African radio. You have yours on TV in St. Croix. You guys, YouTube is great. We all want our YouTubes to monetize and make big monies, but there's other outlets too. So don't just sleep on, oh, the numbers and this and that. Guess what? If 3 out of 4 people are in debt, 90%, most of the people might not be watching the right thing. So I know Charleston White is entertaining. I know some of these content creators personally, but go follow the brand, get some more game. I thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like, make sure you share, because they make me say these things, and stay blessed. This type of game will change somebody's life. Be blessed, y'all.
Are you tired of the violence, tired of the injustice, police brutality, rampant discrimination, lack of gun control in this failed bias socioeconomic experiment called America? Or maybe you need a break from the relentless grind and want to regain control of your destiny, your wealth, your health, and your purpose. DiversifiedGame.com has the right course for you. Prepare for my first trip to Africa. Looking to reconnect with your roots, start a new business, or just a fresh start. Africa, aka the motherland, is waiting. Don't let the Chinese and the Mzungus have the fun and also take over the motherland. From Cairo to Mombasa, from Dakar to Cape Town, Africa has something for everyone, from business opportunities to the most amazing people, safety, leisure, and landscapes. The opportunities abound. It is time for the diaspora to reconnect with their roots. Time to reconnect with the birthplace of humanity. Africa is the last frontier. Get your head in the game and reclaim your legacy. The writing is on the wall. Babylon is falling. Give up the stress, grind, and violence inflicted on our people on this continent and prepare for a journey of restoration and joy by connecting with the land of your ancestors. Check out our new course and kick off your adventure at diversifiedgame.com.